quite possibly one of my worst submissions, with one book that makes absolutely no sense. Stay tuned.
Bry's Comics.
Check me out this Friday over on my Whatnot for $1 starts on over 50 slabs. And we're going to start things off with Amazing Spider-Man number 300, the first appearance of Venom in a CGC 9.6. The last sale on that book was $1,400, and we're going to start it off at $1. I've got a stack of slabs to give away, a bunch of other giveaways, and it's going to be a fantastic time. I hope to see you there, 10 a.m. Pacific time on my Whatnot. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. So the purpose of this video, and the reason I like to do these unboxing videos that show close-ups of the actual book and graders notes when available, is that I know it's really helpful for those just getting into grading comics, collecting graded comics, to see what is the big difference between a 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. So hopefully somebody can take away from this a little bit of knowledge to be a little bit more familiar with the grading process, what to expect in these different grades. You know, salvage this not so great submission for me. Maybe we could get some learning lessons to actually make it worth its while. But before we get into it, we always do a giveaway here. Subscribe, like, and comment on this video, and you're entered to win 2 slabs. And if you head over to brycecomics.com and sign up for the newsletter, you'll get first access to discount codes and new collections and new stuff happening at the shop. And you're also entered to win a monthly giveaway. This month is 2 slabs, 2 Secret Wars 9.8 slabs. And follow me over on Whatnot, guys. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. We are having a ton of fun over on Whatnot. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. is my current schedule. That's subject to change, but it's just an awesome time to just hang out, chill, chat, talk, get some good deals on comics. It's a lot of fun. So I hope to see you over on Whatnot. And of course, Instagram for trades for grails and fresh content over on Instagram as well. Without further ado, let's get into this unboxing and take a look at the grades and why they got the grades they did. Apologize if the sound is a little off, you guys. It's kind of difficult to get the right angle and do this, but here's ASM 265 at 9.6 with white pages, and this one is pretty disappointing because I thought it had a shot at a 9.8, and we'll take a look here at the spine. As you can see, man, it is pretty darn tight, and there's only a couple of very, very tiny spine ticks right there. I mean, I have seen 9.8s that have, you know, similar things, but that's probably what it is. Those tiny, tiny itty bitty spine ticks. The back looks great, sharp corners, tight spine again on the back. A little bit of a stacking bend right there, but that's minimal and also allowed in a 9.8 in that degree. So 9.6, fine line between a 9.8 and a 9.6, so is what it is on that one. Web of Spider-Man number 118. Now, I knew this one definitely wasn't a 9.8. I was hoping for a 9.0 or better. It got the 9.0 because it's still, you know, well, it's over $100 book consistently, even in a 9.0. So I thought it was worth sending in. And this one, I think the main issues on this one is that the staples were a little bit loose. Like there's a little bit of tearing around the staples, and just kind of like a minimal, just surface wear type of thing. Like it just wasn't a super sharp, super tight copy. If we look at the spine on the back side, I mean, it's a 9.0. There's a couple, see, as you can see there, a couple ticks. Nothing egregious. I think the biggest thing on this one was just the loose staples. All right, so Nova number 1 in an 8.5 and a 7.0. So poor Josh, my buddy Josh, he lives right down the street. He came to the shop and he worked hard on these. He had the tack iron out and he was steaming them and pressing them himself, and he put a bunch of time into these. I think he was hoping for a little bit higher grades. I'm not sure if it was quite worth it for him to buy these and send these in, like to get these grades that he did. But so we'll start with the 8.5. The graders notes say light bends to cover, light creasing to cover, and light spine stress lines to cover. And the reason I wanted to show these in this video is that the 7.0 got the exact same graders notes. So it got light bends to cover, light creasing to cover, and light spine stress lines to cover. So I wanted to show this. These two books are absolutely different grades. one of them is absolutely way nicer than the other one, okay? And I just wanted to show that the Graders Notes can be the exact same for two completely different books. So you can't rely on the Graders Notes. If you're thinking about cracking a book out based on the Graders Notes alone, and it says, you know, light spine stress lines to cover, you know, that could be anywhere from a 9.0 to a 9.6 light spine stress lines. So it's going to be too difficult to show the differences in these two books on camera, but just trust me when I say they are absolutely different grades. I just wanted to illustrate the point of the Graders Notes. So here's Kanan, the Last Padawan, number 1, 9.6, white pages, no Graders Notes. I knew it wasn't a 9.8, but it's still worth grading to get a 9.6. There's a little spine tick right there. There's a little bit of color rub by the staple. That would be allowed in a 9.8 if that was the only thing, but it's this color breaking spine tick here and here that landed at the 9.6. Here's another 9.6 Last Padawan, no Graders Notes. But as you can see on the back cover here, there is a little bit of a spine tick right there. Right there, some color rub. There is a spine tick right there. A little bit of color rub right there. Some color rub by the staple. So this is about the amount of spine ticks and color rub that you can have and still get a 9.6. Alias, number 1, and this one came back a 9.4 with no Graders Notes. I definitely knew that this one was not a 9.8, but I definitely still wanted to get it graded. First appearance of Jessica Jones. We have a pretty sizable spine tick there, and a pretty sizable spine tick there. So those two things on the back spine looks pretty nice. You can have spine ticks that show on the back that don't show on the front and vice versa, so it's always very important to check the back. It's usually where a lot of the damage hides. So I really think it was just those two defects on this book, and I'm happy with the 9.4. Invincible Iron Man number 9 and 9.2 white pages, first appearance of Riri Williams. I also knew that this definitely wasn't a 9.8, but I still wanted to get it graded because it's still worth it at this grade. And here you can see there's a spine tick there, and if we flip it over and check out the back spine looks pretty good. A little bit of a spine tick there. And I think the biggest thing on this, holding it back, is this corner right here. If I can get it to focus, you can see it's kind of like a little blunting of that corner. That would be my guess as to why this got a 9.2. I mean, otherwise the spine ticks and stuff, you know, are more akin to a 9.6, but I can't, there's no Graders Notes, and I can't see, you know, the full surface of the book. All right, so here is Amazing Spider-Man 252 in an 8.5 white pages. The Graders Notes say light bends to cover, light creasing to cover, and light spine stress lines to cover. So let's start with the light spine stress lines. Obviously I knew this book wasn't going to be a 9.8. This is considered light spine stress lines. So the way their grading goes, I think it's very light spine stress lines, light spine stress lines, moderate spine stress lines, and then I'm not sure what's after that, but light looks like that. And then if we flip over the back actually looks pretty sharp. So as you can see, I mean, this book is still a VF, right? It's very fine. So the light bends to cover and light creasing to cover is what's really disappointing, because I spent, you know, a decent amount of time, or Cade rather, my store manager, spent a decent amount of time, you know, steaming and pressing these. And I certainly wouldn't have sent it off with something like that. It just happens to be right in the area when you take it in and out of a bag, right? And so, you know, who knows, possibly that was incurred after I sent it in, but it's kind of hard to say on that one, but a little disappointing in that those are technically pressable defects that can be improved. Moon Knight number 15, 9.4 white pages, no Graders Notes. And this one is an interesting example because I certainly had hopes that it would get a 9.8. Here you can see the spine is like pretty much flawless, really sharp spine all the way up, no spine ticks whatsoever. And the same on the back. just super clean and super sharp. So I'm looking this book over. There's no grader's notes. It's got super sharp corners. And I'm wondering, like, what happened on this? There you can see this corner is super sharp too. I'm not sure if this is overspray or ink loss, but it shouldn't affect the grade, what that was. And then when I was looking at it really, really close, I saw this staple has a tiny bit of rust on it, as you can see there. And I'm thinking that that is what caused this book to get the 9.4. It's just a tiny bit of staple rust. This is the reason why people will do unboxings and get so upset and go, what the frick, and throw stuff around. I can't believe this is a 9.4. You know, there's nothing wrong with this book, nothing wrong with this book. And they might not, know to check the staples for staple rust. It sure would be nice if they just put that in the grader's notes. I mean, they saw it, they gave it a 9.4, they saw something to give it a 9.4, and all they have to do is put it in the grader's notes. So here's Moon Knight number 21 and 9.6 white pages. Amazing Bill Sienkiewicz cover. And this one, also no grader's notes. There is a little spine tick right there. It doesn't break color. It's more like just like, where a finger hit and right there. So if these broke color, it probably would have got a 9.2 or 9.4. But since they don't break color, they're just kind of very light little ticks on the spine, it's still got a 9.6. This one is absolutely baffling to me. Amazing Spider-Man 296, a 7.5 white pages. This book looks every bit of a 9.6. I wouldn't have sent it in unless I thought it had a shot at a 9.8. And the grader's notes say light spine stress lines to cover and moderate creasing to cover. So let's first look at the light spine stress lines. So here's the front spine. And as you can see, I mean, this thing is tight. I don't see any spine ticks at all on the front, okay? And if you look on the back here, we want to be careful not to get the case. I'm looking for spine stress lines. I mean, maybe a couple like very, very light spine stress lines. I mean, they are very hard to see. It's really hard to capture it on camera, but there's like maybe a tiny little thing going on right there, all right? So I'll give it to him, very light spine stress lines. Okay, I can see that, especially in this era of book. But moderate creasing, remember how I said earlier that their terminology goes from like very light to moderate. So moderate is like pretty bad. And if you look at this book, how does this have moderate creasing? I mean, I looked all over it. Again, it's hard to show it on camera, but this is a very, very sharp copy. I would not say that this has moderate creasing. I mean, moderate creasing is bad. This thing is super sharp. I'm baffled. I don't know what that's about. I think it was just a mistake. I don't know. Maybe they accidentally I just don't know, because they put moderate creasing and gave it a 7.5. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they would put, like, I could see if it didn't say moderate creasing and it got a 7.5, maybe it was just a clerical error. It was supposed to be a 9.6, but it's like they actually graded it a 7.5 because they put moderate creasing and it got a 7.5. So here's just a perfect example. The next one here, Amazing Spider-Man 252. So this also got a 7.5. This book isn't even in the same league as this book. This one is an actual 7.5, and this one is more like a 9.6. So this one says light creasing to cover, moderate bends to cover, moderate spine stress lines to cover. So it's a Mark Jewelers insert. Which is why I sent it in this condition, because I thought, wow, that's really cool. It's a Mark Jewelers. And I mean, as you can see, I mean, I was expecting somewhere between, a 6 and 7.5, and I got the 7.5, so I'm actually happy with the grade. But as you can see, I mean, the spine, it's a 7.5, and it really is a 7.5. I mean, look at that corner. That corner there has a little bit of wear. There is, imperfections throughout the surface of the comic. I mean, this comic was well loved, well read. It certainly was not like an investor copy. This was just like not in a bag and board for years, and somebody read it multiple times. I mean, as you can see, there's creasing. I mean, it's a 7.5. So to think that this got a 7.5 and this got a 7.5 is just unbelievable. I think it must have been some kind of mistake. But what am I going to do? Send it back in? It's just not worth the time. All right, Amazing Spider-Man 280, 9.2, white pages, newsstand edition, no graders notes, and it's probably just, you know, small spine stress lines, that type of thing. More of the same of what we saw before. Web of Spider-Man #1, newsstand 9.2, white pages, also no graders notes. But this one also, I knew it wasn't a 9.8. It had some spine ticks and, you know, minor imperfections, but still in the near mint range, so I thought it was definitely worth sending in. This corner here might have been something that held it back when it's grading. I mean, if you look at this book, this is an overhang. I mean, it's just so difficult to get this book actually in CGC's hands, into the grader's hands, into the slab without, you know, damaging that overhang, you know? So it's just an incredibly tough type of paper. Here's Spectacular Spider-Man #9, the first appearance of White Tiger in Standard Comics, and it got a 9.0 white pages. This is another one that I just absolutely do not understand how this got a 9.0. There's no graders notes. I mean, there's a couple of spine ticks. I knew it wasn't a 9.8, but as you can see, a color breaking spine tick there, and it is actually a little bit more severe than the other ones. You know, a little bend there and there. But, you know, I guess I shouldn't be too completely surprised by this. But, I mean, look at those sharp corners. I would have definitely thought it would have got at least a 9.2, putting it in that near mint minus or better range. I mean, it's a sharp copy. When you look at the back, the corners are just super sharp, edges super sharp. Spine, very little problems with the spine on the back. I mean, there's a little bit of a tick there. So, I don't know, it seems like a harsh grade, a 9.0 for this, considering, you know, the other examples we've seen of 9.2s, and it sure would be nice to get, you know, graders notes to say exactly why this got a 9.0. So I don't know what it is about that 7.5, you guys. Like, there could be something going on in the interior pages of the book. If there was like a big tear inside the book or going through several pages, that would explain why it got a 7.5. But they put graders notes for other defects on the book. I just would feel like if there was a big tear inside, they would have put that in the notes since they already had notes on there. I thought maybe I should just crack it out and flip through the pages and just see it outside of the case. There's oftentimes stuff that you can't see on the book, causing it to get the grade that it did. But you know what? I figure, what the heck? It's just, we'll just chalk that one up as a loss. Thank you, as always, for sticking with me to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and you're entered to win free slabs. Head over to Bryce Comics and sign up for that newsletter to be entered to win more slabs and get first access to new collections and things like that. And I hope to see you over on Whatnots, where we can engage and chat and go back and forth 3 times a week. So it's a great way to stay you know, on the pulse with everything going on, and it's just a fun time. Link in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. Thank you for sticking with me to the end, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bryce Comics.